Hey guys, my name is Gloria and welcome back to my channel where I review all kinds of books, but mainly lean towards darker fiction, and also document my attempt to become a published writer myself. So today is the first video of the week for me, and because of this I like to recommend another small booktuber like myself. So the one I've chosen for today is called Typical Books, and her name is Lydia. She has a great channel. She talks about all kinds of horror books. She talks about new releases and small press, indie press books. She's also a horror writer herself, so if you're looking for some brand new books by booktubers, you can look her up. I have bought a couple, but I haven't got around to reading them yet, but the Halloween season is coming up. So if you're looking for a new spooky booktuber to watch some content for the Halloween season, you should definitely check out Lydia at Typical Books. For myself today, I actually have a true crime novel that I have been wanting to read for a long time since I heard about it, and I just said screw it, let's get this done. I think it was actually because the criminal in this was recently sentenced that sort of gave me a kick in the ass to actually read this book. And this is quite a unique and interesting book in a lot of ways because of the writer. It's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. There's a few interesting things about this book. So Michelle McNamara was married to Patton Oswalt, who is an American actor and comedian. You might have seen him in different TV shows and comedy specials and whatnot. I think he also does voiceover work for a lot of cartoons and stuff. And I think I first learned about this book through him. I followed him on Twitter. It's quite funny. And then I found out about his wife. And so this I'll Be Gone in the Dark is about the Golden State Killer. This is actually a name that stuck from Michelle McNamara. He was called a few different things in police reports and whatnot before this, but she thought it just didn't encompass everything he did. His previous names were the East Area Rapist, but he didn't just stay to the east side of California, and the other one was the original Night Stalker. If you're at all into true crime, you'll realize that there is a Night Stalker already. I think his name is Richard Ramirez. Absolutely disgusting human being, if you can call him that. So that is sort of confusing names. They don't exactly tell the whole story, and because he did end up traveling around California to commit the crimes that he did, she gave him the moniker the Golden State Killer, and that was actually the name that they used when they arrested and convicted him after this book was published. Another interesting and tragic fact about this book is that Michelle McNamara actually died before this was published. She died 1 year before they found out the actual identity of the Golden State Killer. She had spent, I think, years, it might have been up to a decade, researching this guy meticulously over the internet, searching online forums. This book is full of her notes and her interviews with anyone she could get in contact with who worked on his cases, any of the detectives, any of the witnesses even, or some of the victims and some of the witnesses. And she did, however, pass away in her sleep in 2016. And subsequently her husband Patton wanted to get this book published, so he enlisted help from her other research buddies to get this finished. There's also a foreword from, I think you pronounce it Gillian Flynn, who I think wrote The Woman on the Train and various other thriller novels. So it's just, getting to the end of it is sort of heartbreaking, because you're with her the entire way through the book and the entire way through her own search for this despicable human being, but she never got to know his name in the end, which is unfortunate. So I'll Be Gone in the Dark details the crimes, the horrific crimes of the Golden State Killer. He murdered at least 20 people. They think he committed at least 50 rapes across California from 1976 to 1986, and then he seemingly disappeared, and up until I think he was arrested in 2018 possibly, and he was only just convicted because of the ridiculous statute of limitations. He was only convicted for 13 crimes, I think, 13 of the murders, but he's gonna rot in jail, hopefully, for the rest of his life. And this book details Michelle McNamara's search for the Golden State Killer. So it's her delving into all of the evidence that she has, all of the geographical evidence, all of the DNA evidence, all of the markers and pointers and characteristics of this person, because there were so many crimes and so many witnesses and so many victims. There was an abundance of evidence that just didn't seem to lead to anyone in particular, and it's frustrating. It's one of those cases, if you're into a lot of true crime cases, there are a lot of cases where investigations are just bungled and police officers don't seem to be doing what they should be doing, but it doesn't seem to be the case in this. It seems to be that everyone was doing what they could to try and catch this guy, and just out of pure luck, they just couldn't catch him. It's a real damn shame that they didn't. And you may be wondering if you hadn't heard of him. I was surprised that he wasn't more widely talked about, especially in the rise of popularity of true crime in the last 5 or 10 years. Given how many crimes he actually committed, it blows my mind that more people didn't know about him. And this book actually not only gave him the moniker the Golden State Killer, but it also brought him into the limelight again after so many years, because while people in those areas in California, in the East Bay area where most of his crimes were committed, they still had him in their memories. They still had the ghost of him, the fear that was in those neighborhoods while he was attacking, sometimes twice in a 24-hour period on the same street, which is just madness. But the rest of the world didn't know about him, and there are so many other awful people like the Zodiac Killer and whatnot who committed terrible crimes, did terrible things. We never knew their name, but we know about them. Jack the Ripper, I think he killed 5 or 6 people. This was at least 60 people that he directly impacted, and a whole host of husbands and children and family members that were irrevocably changed because of what he did. And she brought his name out to the wider public, and there is some debate as to whether this book actually helped catch him. Certainly I don't think any of the pieces of evidence that she was able to collect, or the people on the online forums and whatnot were able to collect, helped put him behind bars. He was actually caught because of the new 23andMe style DNA services that we have nowadays. So if you're going to use those, you might have a serial killer in your family, just saying. But they had DNA evidence from his crimes, but unfortunately he seemingly had not committed any crimes other than these that DNA evidence was collected for. When he first committed the crimes, you couldn't test DNA at all. When DNA sequencing came into effect, there were no hits on CODIS, there were no hits on the national databases, so they couldn't find out who he was. And it was only that some of his relatives decided to try out this newfangled way of looking at your DNA that they were able to hone in on him and finally catch him. But there is no debate that she brought attention to his crimes and to the darkness that he left in those areas and the lives that he ruined, and really brought his terrible crimes into the spotlight. And it's the only reason that whenever he was caught, it was national news instead of just news in California. I'm not sure if there is a documentary or if they're making a documentary based on this book, but they definitely should, and I definitely want to read it. So there are some pictures in here of some of the evidence and some of the victims. There's the most impressive thing about this book, however, I think, is that Michelle McNamara's writing. There's so many very specific evidence points in this and information about him and about the places and the things and the people, but she weaves in a narrative that really chillingly puts you in those places, puts you there outside that house on that dark night when terrible things are happening. And it's harrowing. It's even more harrowing because you know that it's real and there's real people involved, but her writing is so good. It's such a great balance between the facts and the evidence and the sort of not dull, but the very clinical sense of the crime scenes and the actual people involved and the lives involved and the detectives and the scientists who were trying to catch this man for so long, and also the online sleuths that were trying to catch him for so long. It did sort of remind me of the that documentary about Lucas Magnotta, Don't Mess with Cats, how so many, and in that case the online sleuths actually did find out who the guy was and where he was, but there were just as many people trying to find out who the Golden State Killer was. Unfortunately, they just didn't have the same resources, the same internet videos and whatnot to find him. But if you're interested in true crime, you absolutely need to read I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. It is a great book. There is an afterword by the two investigators, the two, not professional investigators, but the two researchers who helped put together all of her notes for this. Some of it is taken from articles that she wrote for online and print newspapers in America, and also there is a letter at the end from her, to Letter to an Old Man it's called, and it's to the Golden State Killer that she wrote before she died, just telling him that he will be caught. And she was right. She just unfortunately didn't get to see it. So that is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, one woman's obsessive search for the Golden State Killer. Fantastic book. I definitely think you should read it if you're into true crime. That is my review of today. So don't forget to check out Typical Books and Lydia's channel. You should definitely follow me on Instagram to be in with a chance of winning my September giveaway, which is 3 books by Dorothy McCarter. I have stickers, I have bookmarks, I have jewellery. You should go over there and check out that giveaway. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you like what I'm doing here, you can like and subscribe down below. I have a lot of videos planned for October, my favourite month. I have a lot of fun things, not just book reviews, but I have a lot of new things that I really want to try out, so you should definitely like and subscribe down below, and I shall see you in the next video.